Hello, my kings and queens. Welcome back to another video on the channel. So we are back with the series where I go into each whole drop character and their journey throughout the show and my thoughts on them. And today we are back with a character who I do not like. Today we're talking about Duncan, and next up on our list of pursuits is Eva, and I have a lot to say about her, and I am kind of excited. So, first off, I am planning on recording my first Queen of What Is video soon. I kind of, instead of April 10th, like I said before, I want to upload it by March 31st. So either March 31st or April 10th will the first Queen of What Is video will be released. But so yeah, also I actually have three videos coming up besides this series where I want to go into the differences between a Broadway musical, a stage musical, a stage musical if it was on Broadway or not, to its film counterpart. I also have a video coming up where I will talk about The Book of Life and Coco, and how even though they have the same theme revolving around the Day of the Dead and Mexican culture, they are two otherwise completely different movies in terms of its messages. And I will also be going into every single Babysitter's Club graphic novel, like a complete summary of all 17 graphic novels, and I will update them when a new book comes out. So, yeah, before we get into today's video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and comment down below on what you think about Duncan, and what do you think about my other video ideas. And with that out of the way, let's get into Duncan's very introductory. Okay. Duncan was a camper on Total Drama Island as a member of the Killer Bass. He was a cast member and one of the finalists of Total Drama Action. I did a video on Beth a few weeks ago, so you can go watch that as she was the other finalist. Duncan was a member of the Screaming Gappers. Originally, he quit Total Drama World Tour, but was forced to return once he was found and was placed on Team Chris is really, 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 really hot. He was seen with the original contestants on a yacht in the first episode of Total Drama Reggie Island, and he made a cameo appearance in Grand Chef Auto. He was a camper for Total Drama All Stars and was originally a member of the Villainous Vultures, but was switched over to the Heroic Hamsters. So here is what Duncan looks like. Okay, we're good on that. So Duncan is a tall male with this ridiculous lime green mohawk, and he has piercings on his eyebrows, his nose, and multiple piercings on his ear. He has this dog collar with spikes on it, and he is wearing this skull t-shirt that is black and yellow, and he is wearing I honestly can't tell since Duncan has such a long torso, but I would assume that he is wearing some black cargos, and he is actually wearing red Converse. I don't like Duncan, but this is similarly to what I said in Courtney's video. Duncan does have one of my favorite characters designs in the whole show. So, like I said before, he is a male and he has black hair with a lime green mohawk, which is dye. He has teal eyes and he has not one, not two, not three, but four labels. In Total Drama Island, his label was the delinquent. In Total Drama Action, his label was the criminal. In Total Drama World Tour, his label was the juvie. And in Total Drama All Stars, his label was the delinquent heartthrob. And he is in 75 episodes overall. It, huh? Why do almost all the characters who I absolutely hate is in that many episodes when I want to see the characters who I actually love in more episodes like the same amount. Oh my god. In Total Drama Island 2007, he was placed on the Killer Bass. He made the merge, and he was eliminated in the episode Are We There Yeti? And he was fourth place. In Total Drama Action, he was on the Screaming Gaffers. He made the merge again, and he was a finalist, and he was eliminated depending on which ending you watch. Depending on which ending you watch, he was eliminated in the aftermath of fourth. And depending on the ending, he was first or second. I actually talked about Beth's ending in my Beth video, so go watch her video. And this will also be placed into the playlist where all the videos are in. So in Total Drama World Tour, he left after the first episode. So I'm actually going into his elimination category first. He quit in the first episode, Walk Like an Egyptian Part 1, and he was not placed on any team beforehand, but he returned in the episode I See London and was placed on Team Chris is Team Chris is really hot. Blame Sierra. And he made the merge again, and he was eliminated in the episode African Lying Safari, and he was fifth place. In Total Drama All Stars, he was on both teams, first being placed on the Villainous Vultures, and then after sacrificing himself in a challenge for Gwen, he was placed on the Heroic Hamsters, and he made the merge in all four times he competed. He was eliminated in we gotta be kidding me, and he was eighth after being arrested for blowing up Chris's cottage. Cottage, yeah, sure, Chris, that was totally a cottage. No, that was a mansion. um, in his interactions panel, he was in a relationship with both Courtney and Gwen, but this ended in breakups. He broke up with Courtney and he broke up with Gwen, and he was briefly attracted to Heather, but this ended. He is friends with Beth, DJ, Jeff, Gwen, Owen, and Zoe. And he is enemies with Alejandro, Bridget, Cody, Courtney, Ezekiel, Harold, Heather, Justin, Lashana, Lindsay, Noah, Trent, and Tyler. In his family, he has probably the most expansive family we have seen thus far in the series. Well, so far, he in his family he has his aunt, cousins, brothers, his dad, and his mom, and his grandmother, and he is voiced by Drew Nelson. Let's get into his personality. Duncan is a def- Duncan is the definition of a bad boy, being a crappy, cool, juvenile delinquent who comes from a long line of policemen and policewomen. His dad, mom, uncle, and grandma and cousins are all cops. He knows I also forgot to mention they don't. Oh, I did see. He does have brothers, but they aren't mentioned here. Oh my god. He knows many tactics for his time spent in juvenile detention centers. He can carve a picture of his skull into a tree trunk and lift great amounts of weight, such as Owen, who is more than 3 times his size. He has a brooding, obnoxious, sarcastic, and flirtatious personality, flirting with Heather despite his apparent dislike of her and mocking Courtney whenever she gets near him. He also gives Courtney the pet name Princess to tease her. Duncan loves to break rules to better suit himself, but sometimes the consequences are worse than what he intended. Duncan also loves to make fun of the other contestants and pull several pranks on them, with Harold being his main victim. Later, intensifying it due to a certain move Harold made in Total Drama Island. He considers himself as being straight with people, rarely pretending to be what he isn't. As a result, he has been shown to either get along with or make fierce enemies with his fellow competitors, although it is more often than the latter. Despite his mean attitude and demeanor, Duncan is actually a good person at heart, although he will never admit it to anyone else, such as what was displaying the side of him, including finding a new body for his friend DJ after Jeff loses the first one, carving him and Courtney's initials on wood, and defending Lindsay after she is betrayed by Heather. So quality time with Harold also makes him consider entering his key feud with him for so long, notice does not come into fruition. Arguably, these traits make Duncan more of an anti-hero than a villainous character. As a way as a way to express his feelings for a girl he likes, Duncan uses his knife to either carve her name or her face or protect her during challenges. In Total Drama All Stars, being on a heroic team, heroic hamster starts to bring out his nicer side, which infuriates him as it ruins his bad boy image. But soon proves he is a bad boy again by blowing up Chris's cottage. It seems like the writers genuinely did not know how to do with Duncan, but even with the kind of writing, I wouldn't say it's straight out bad writing since during All Stars I found out that there was only four writers during that season. So I get why there's some sort of iffy things going on that season, but I still think All Stars is a pretty decent season. I know this is an unpopular opinion. I know most of the majority of the fandom hates our All Stars, but I personally do not, because I'm not really that picky when it comes to shows. It has to be really bad, like really bad, in order for me to like it. But I do love Drew Nelson's portrayal of Duncan. He does capture the nuances of his character a lot, and I have nothing but nice things to say about him. Fun fact though, for the longest time I thought Drew Nelson voiced Jonesy from 16, another fresh TV show. I am so done because it turns out it was Terry McGarren, and I thought that it was Drew Nelson for the longest time until I actually looked at the cast. So I'm done. Let's get into Duncan's journey in Total Drama Island. Thank you. Duncan apparently joins Total Drama in order to avoid returning to Juvie. He is the seventh person to arrive to the island in Not So Happy Campers Part 1, where he is quick to make enemies with Heather, Noah, and Harold. He is surprised to see that Camp Moanaqua is not a five-star resort like it said on the application. He told Chris that he doesn't like surprises, and Chris replied by telling him that Duncan's parole officer can always see him at the juvie. He is placed in the killer baths where his mean, aggressive behavior makes many people afraid of him. He finds pleasure in picking on Harold and making his life miserable, pranking him on several instances in Total Drama Island and Total Drama Action. His reputation is also known to the Screaming Gophers, and as a result, most campers keep their distance from him. Despite this, he does manage to become good friends with DJ and Jeff, who he often hangs out with. Though Duncan is himself is a strong competitor, he is not above cheating to himself an edge, though he is always caught by the act by Chris, who frequently brings up his parole officer to keep Duncan in check. Water. I don't want to lose my voice at the end of this. Thank you. It's the first challenge. Duncan is skeptical of Courtney's incompetent leadership. He is, in fact, one of the first to suggest blowing off Courtney due to her poor performances in a challenge such as failing to dive off the cliff. Likewise, Courtney dislikes Duncan, often mocking him for his punkish appearance and his reputation as a criminal. Despite this initial tension, the two of them show that they have feelings for each other. Though unlike Courtney, Duncan does not deny this and often flirts with her, calling her pet names. As the season progresses, Courtney continues to reject him and even kicks him at the groin at one point in Paintball Deer Hunter. And if you can't take the heat, Duncan, along with DJ and Jeff, prank Harold after he continues to leave his dirty clothes in the cabin. In the end, leading Harold to promise never leave his dirty clothes on the floor again. In Who Can You Trust, Courtney discovers that Duncan found a new bunny for DJ after Jeff loses the first one. When she asks him about it, Duncan pretends that he doesn't know what she's referring to before finally confessing, realizing that he is nicer than he lets on. Courtney begins to see Duncan in a new light and promises to keep it a secret, much to his annoyance. Okay, so yeah, I can make so many unhealthy comparisons to this and Wicked that I just watched Wicked again for like I don't know, I don't know, like the I seriously lost count. but I have watched Wicked a lot, and I can make so many unhealthy comparisons to Glinda and Elphaba to Duncan and Courtney. You do not want to see me do it. I will. I. It's not. It's. Oh my god. I just want to. There we go. Okay, we're back. In basics training, Duncan spends most of his time pricking Harold or provoking Chef Hatchet instead of focusing on the challenge at hand. Courtney tries to ensure he doesn't get into trouble, though Duncan teases her, suggesting that she's doing it because she likes him, much to her frustration. Eventually, Chef loses his patience with Duncan and sends him to the boathouse. Courtney visits him, and after a brief conversation about each other's behavior, Duncan convinces Courtney to break some rules and join him in stealing food from Chef. They return to the cabin and share the stolen food with the other campers. After another conversation with Duncan, Courtney pulls him in and kisses him, marking the beginning of their relationship. Pause. Keep in mind, Courtney threw up after eating I don't know, like ice cream sandwiches or weird Oreos, like they're like squares, but they look like they're Oreos, but they're not actually Oreos. They're not like the circles. They're not like circles, they're like squares, so I don't know if it's I seriously don't know if it's like a I seriously don't know if it's like a ice cream sandwich because at that if that's the case, then understandable why she threw up. But if not, then what is that? Nasty, nasty, nasty. After their team loses, Duncan is shocked that Courtney is eliminated. Unbeknownst to Duncan, I said Doan. I meant Duncan. Harold had break the votes to eliminate her as revenge for Duncan's bullying. As the boat of losers sails off, Duncan has a tearful farewell of Courtney and gives her a goodbye present, a what is called a he card. He is pleased when Courtney says that is real weird, but she will cherish it. Pause. I said this is my Courtney video, but back to when I actually liked Courtney and back where I actually cared. This was a hard episode for me to watch when I was first starting to watch the show. I never really liked Duncan from the beginning. Never really liked him, period. But I did like Courtney, and this was pretty sad, but now I really just don't care. Soon, the contestants are separated into boys and girls. Duncan and his group quickly bond with the remaining boys from the Gophers, Trent and Owen. Despite their bonds, the boys distance themselves in no pain, no game after Chris announces the merge. However, after Trent is eliminated in Search and Do Not Destroy, Duncan realizes that the girls outnumber the boys and rallies the remaining boys, DJ, Jeff, and Owen, and they form an alliance in the episode How to Be Sneaky. Although it takes some intimidation to convince Owen, the other boys ultimately agree to vote off one of the girls. After the challenge ends, Duncan convinces them to vote off Bridget. No! They knew for a fact. Those writers knew for a fact that Bridget was too likable. They had to eliminate her here. I know this is not because of Heather's plot number. Maybe it is, but whatever. Because they needed to keep Heather until the final three. So they had to have at least the nicer competitors picked off first, which sucks. So, because he sees Bridget's athletic skills as a threat, that's why he wants to vote Bridget off. Everyone except Jeff agrees with. That night, although Bridget was voted off, Jeff admits that he did not voting for her, earning Duncan's anger. I said this in my Bridget video, but the math does not make sense. Either Izzy and or I wouldn't say Lindsay. Lindsay and Heather voted for Owen. I want to give a quick breakdown on the votes here. The Bridget, Lashana, and Gwen wants to vote off Duncan. Heather, along with Lindsay and maybe Izzy, decide to vote off Owen, and then the guys decide to vote off Bridget. If Jeff truly did not vote for Bridget, then it would have caused the freeway time. Unless Jeff voted for one of the other girls, like Gwen, before they became friends. He either vote off someone like Gwen, or so that but it would still make a freeway tie. Thus, I believe Izzy must have flipped her vote onto Bridget at the last second because she likes Owen and she doesn't want to get rid of him. So I guess that's where the votes ended up because they never explain this and this is never brought up after this episode. So this easily has to be where the vote that easily has to be where the votes landed. And that's off the chain. Duncan continues to lead the guys' alliance and is notably angry that Owen and DJ are talking to Lizzie. Though another girl is eliminated, Duncan defends Lindsay when she is betrayed by Heather, calling Heather's actions cold compared to anything he has done. This leads to one of the most probably the most iconic moment in season one, and I'll replay that moment in Lindsay's video. So stay tuned for that. Let me stop. In Hook, Line, and Screamer, Duncan bonds with Gwen over a shared interest in horror movies, even discovered that they have the same favorite film. When it is reported that an escaped killer is on the loose, Duncan is the only one to take Gwen's advice seriously, while the others go off on their own and end up getting captured. Eventually, Duncan hears someone calling his name and leaves the campsite to find a killer standing at the dock's shame. Duncan quickly disarms the killer, only to discover it was Chef wearing a mask and that the real killer is in the lodge with Gwen. Duncan high-fives Gwen when she defeats the real killer. And while we're not going to go on wild, Duncan forms a short-lived alliance with Heather and agrees to help her catch her animal. After they eliminate Izzy, their partnership is not mentioned again. I hate crime. They would have dominated that whole thing. I wanted to see a Heather and Duncan finale. That would have been so cool to see. Hey, writers, I'm here. If you're doing another season with the reboot or something, or if you want to do more seasons with the original competitors, hey, I'm right here. A Duncan and Heather finale would be absolutely insane. I would love to see that. Oh my god. In Trial by Triathlon, Duncan is paired with Lashana, with whom he doesn't get along. The two often argue throughout the episode, sometimes physically, about who gets to do the required tasks. In the first challenge, they compete in an arm wrestling match to decide who should be defeated, and Duncan wins by cheating. Later, they argue about who should sit at the front of the canoe and who should carry the other. Eventually, the argument begins to subside when Lashana says that Duncan is actually a nice person and will not follow through on his friend. Duncan pretends to not understand what she is talking about until Lashana mentions the incident with DJ's body, revealing that Courtney had told her about it. Heather, no, not Heather. Courtney and Lashana don't have the best relationship, but in order for Courtney to tell Lashana this, they must have had a decent relationship before the events of Total Drama Action. Cause, yeah. So because of Duncan, here's why Duncan got DJ a new bunny. Duncan confesses that when he was younger, his pet dog named Petey ran away and he did not want DJ to experience the same thing. The two make peace and continue with the challenge. At the end of the episode, Duncan chooses to vote Jeff for failing to vote for Giroux. What? I seriously did not. Oh, I'm done. Duncan says in a confessional that this person made a big mistake a few weeks back and that he has a long memory, so he did vote for Jeff. But that votes are still kind of confusing because we don't know who Jeff, Gwen, and Owen vote for. So Lashana says, I'm getting into some of these weird votes here. I'm sorry. So I'm guessing Lashana definitely voted for Heather. Um, Gwen must have voted for Heather or someone else. Owen might have voted Gwen. Jeff might have voted Duncan. It's too confusing. I'm not getting into today. I might do a video on some of the weird vote outs. Cause there's a whole lot to say, and I got to do math, and I'm tired, and I got a headache because it's gonna rain where I live. In Camp Castaways, Duncan is caught in the fight between Heather and Gwen. When the campers are drifted to a deserted island, Duncan initially says that he is happy to be alone with two beautiful girls, but quickly dismisses this as their arguments begin to annoy him. After a hunting trip, Duncan attempts to leave the island with Gwen, but they end up on the opposite side of the island and eventually go back to the treehouse where Heather and Owen have recently arrived. After a heart-to-heart talk with each other at Owen's suggestion, the final four return to the camp after seeing smoke from Chris and Chef's campsite. We don't know what they said in this episode. What did they say to the point where they had to completely cut that part out? I want if since it's like a reality show in their universe, I want to know if they had a reunion or not. I know there's like a fake Told Drama reunion where there's like a fan made episode. I have not watched it. I don't know if I ever plan to watch it. I'll be honest. But seriously, did they ever have a reunion episode where they go back and see like all these unedited things, similarly to how like the Dance Moms reunion operated almost a year ago? I wonder how the Total Drama reunion would be like. Something to think about. Duncan is paired with Owen and Are We There Daddy? Though Duncan often berates Owen, the two easily get along and manage to outsmart the girl several times. Ultimately, due to Owen's appetite to lose the challenge, and Duncan is eliminated, though he is disappointed. While Heather mocks him for not allying with her and Owen accidentally burps into his face while trying to bid him goodbye. Duncan shares a fist bump with Gwen, who respects him as a player. You know what happens next. Do I need to say anything about it? No. Duncan returns in his finale as one of Owen's original supporters before announcing the party he plans to hold if Owen wins. At one point, he and Courtney end up arguing about the finalists, but they eventually make out. I hate this couple so much. I hate it. I hate it. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. I hate it so bad. I know Duncan fans are gonna crucify me, but I don't like Duncan and Courtney together. I don't. In the special Total Drama Island, he and Courtney team up to find a case of $1 million. After Duncan manages to wrestle an alligator that ate the case, he trips on a rock and sprains his ankle. Despite his pleas for help, Courtney abandons him, taking the case with her. When Noah comes by and mocks him, Duncan retaliates by ripping off Noah's pants. Once he can walk again, Duncan makes it back to camp but is attacked by a moose. He wars it off by using the moose head from the main lodge. From above, Courtney cheers for him. Duncan remains bitter about her betrayal and friends are saying that he is coming for her next. Duncan ends up riding the moose and is eventually thrown into the lake along with 13 other contestants. As the case was seen by a shark, Duncan is among those who qualify for Total Drama Action despite his protest about participating in another season, and that's where his journey ends in Total Drama Island. That was a lot, and he makes the merge every single time.
Okay, let's move on.
Water. I'm gonna calm down before I throw my computer out the window. Okay, let's get into Duncan's journey throughout Total Drama Action. Duncan is one of 14 contestants returning for the new season. From the beginning, he and Gwen become close friends due to their many shared interests. This makes Gwen's boyfriend Trent jealous as he sees how much Gwen and Duncan have in common, while he struggles to find common ground with her. Trent's anger escalates further, especially when Gwen chooses Duncan as the first member of her team. Unaware of Trent's growing frustration, Duncan begins to pull pranks on him, which only aggravates Trent more. Trent's jealousy drives him to become obsessed with the number 9, and Duncan exacerbates the situation by mentioning a possible connection between the number and their relationship. This leads to a series of events, culminating in Gwen and Trent's breakup and their subsequent elimination. We're going to talk a bit about my fanfic, and I'd like to explain the choices I made throughout the fanfic with the choices that I do for contestants who are in Revenge. who were in all three seasons. Because my cracked brain combining Equestria Girls with Total Drama World Tour, and yet this weirdly works, at least for me. And I want to know if that combination works for you down below. But the choice, I made a good choice. I mentioned this in my love triangle video. I opted for the love triangle to essentially never happen. With Duncan breaking up with Courtney in the odds on race and tries to get with Gwen in the next episode, can't help falling in love, but Gwen refuses because of Duncan putting the thought in Gwen's head that the number 9 thing was not because of the toy train, which ended up being the cause of Trent's OCD. It was because of combining Gwen and Trent's names. If you know basic math, there are 4 letters in Gwen's name, and there are 5 letters in Trent's name, and you put them together, they make 9. So that's why Gwen freaked out a bit, and when she found out the truth through the aftermath, she did not appreciate Duncan for ultimately ending her relationship when she truly did want to try to fix things with Trent, but things got too caught up and things got a little too complicated for her. So she ends up refusing to be with Duncan. So she refuses to be with him, saying that mostly because of him, he is the reason. He is the reason why Gwen and Trent broke up, essentially. And this is my point exactly. So and then when Gwen is eliminated in the X Files, she and Duncan do make up right before she leaves, but this does not lead into any romantic implications, and I am going to mention this in my most recent chapter. This is I'm on Aftermath After Mayhem, so I will make a point in that where Gwen says she forgave Duncan because it did seem like he really did feel bad, leading into more of the anti-hero situation. He's still I if I did an All Stars rewrite, he wouldn't blow up Chris's cottage, and he won't get character development if I do an All Stars rewrite. So yay! But my point is that in my fanfic, Gwen and Duncan are basically no longer friends by the start, at least on Gwen's side of things. They are no longer friends at the start of the fanfic, because when Duncan tries to look at Gwen in like a very flirtatious way, Gwen ends up just scoffing and turning her head because she does not like Duncan. And so I simply opt for the love triangle 10 out of 10. So that's my point. Duncan is one of the few people on the team, with DJ being the other who still defends Gwen after he is caught throwing the challenge for the other team. He even tries to take her place in the limousine, but he admits he was only joking. Before leaving the show, Gwen wishes Duncan good luck. With Gwen's departure, Duncan unofficially replaces her as captain of the Scream Gaffers. He has won many challenges for his team, earning the respect of his teammates. However, his age role for Harold hasn't changed. It is revealed that Duncan discovered Harold's actions from last season that led to Courtney's elimination and testifying as the streamer for Harold. Additionally, Duncan occasionally mocks Harold's feelings for Lashana. Meanwhile, Lashana tries to convince Duncan and Harold to form an alliance for her to protect themselves forever. She first attempted this in the episode One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. This is literally just called One Flew Over the Cuckoo's. But when the idea of working for Harold came up, Duncan simply laughed at her and rejected the offer. After winning the challenge, Lashana begins crying, expressing her concern for her friend's safety throughout the episodes. To seeing this, Duncan nominates Lashana for her to receive the reward, and everyone agrees with him. 2 episodes later, however, in the episode Masters of Disasters, the gaffers discovered that Lashana pretended to cry in order to claim the reward for all herself, angering Duncan. With the discovery of her scam, Duncan gives Lashana the cold shoulder a full metal drama and tells Harold never to do the same. I will defend Lashana to Earth and back, and then I will defend Lashana to the end and back. I can't. I don't think I don't think that she deserved to scam her teammates out of the spa vacation. But later on, when she kind of mocks them, I feel like every word was said except to Harold and Lindsay. Those two, they did not deserve that. And Beth. Everyone else, I feel like they deserved every word that was said. Case closed. For the military challenge, Duncan once again takes charge of his team and questions Harold's usefulness. He reveals in a confessional that he has always dreamed of joining the military. Duncan easily wins the second challenge, creating a giant skull with the explosives, and successfully defends his team when the opposing team launches an attack. With the situation becoming tenser, Duncan admits to Harold that he actually has a small degree of respect for him in order for him to retreat. Their combined efforts allows them to defeat the groups of clan, winning immunity from their team and taking a peek inside the chest of map-blowing secrets, which contains nothing inside, much to their dismay. Duncan and the rest of the team continue to ignore Lashana in Oceans 8 or 9 and doesn't even bother that that she's missing. As the team attempts to open the ball, Duncan is annoyed seeing how incompetent Harold and Heather are and is even more annoyed that they have forgotten he is an experienced criminal. After seeing that the other teams have had to leave, Duncan tells them to abandon Lashana and improvise tools that they need for their challenge using Harold's belongings. When the team are about to rob the bank, the teller reveals herself to be Courtney. The sight of her caused Duncan to faint. It turns out that Courtney will be returning to the competition and is placed on the killer grips. In the second part of the challenge, Duncan easily reassembles his team's Kogart and drives to victory, reaching the finish line before the other team, despite their cart running out of gas at the last minute. With Courtney's return, Duncan knows that his team must work harder in order to win. Although Duncan still harbors feelings for her, he hated the fact that Courtney was stood so low and using dirty tactics to make sure that she wins the season. Courtney, on the other hand, is angry at Duncan for being close to Gwen, believing that he is cheating on her. This ends up being true. Well, not true in that sense, but it ends up being true that Duncan would in fact cheat on Courtney forever. This is why I simply opt for love triangle to never happen, for Duncan and Courtney to break up beforehand, before Duncan goes to try to pursue Gwen, but once Gwen refuses, she does not like Duncan at this point. They are paired up against each other in $1 million BC and $1 million babies. And Courtney wins both of them both times as Duncan tries his best to not have his relationship with Courtney to not have his relation with Courtney ends up like Trent and Gwen. Meanwhile, it is discovered that Lashana had badmouthed the contestants during their trip to the spot, calling Duncan a softie whenever Courtney is around him, furthering angry at Duncan. Although upon listening to her apology tear, Duncan and Harold allows her to stay and voted for Heather instead. Am I supposed to clap? No. I'm not supposed to clap for Duncan. Of course not. No. No, I'm sorry. Call me petty and call me a cartoon hater. I'm not a cartoon hater. I love cartoons. But still, I do not like Duncan. Upon reaching the merge, Duncan and Harold finally agrees with Lashana into forming an alliance. However, they went behind her back in the next episode by forming a new guys alliance with Justin. They agreed to vote off Lashana that night since their biggest friend has invincibility. Harold initially refuses to vote for Lashana, but with some convincing for Courtney, who is convinced by Duncan, he agrees. Meanwhile, Courtney's enemies, including Lashana, are also targeting him, believing that Duncan Eliminating Duncan will make Courtney lose her hedge. In the end, though, Duncan receives the last kill at Chris, and Lashana is eliminated. The guys' alliance continues in the Princess Pride, but tension rises between Duncan and Justin throughout the episode. During the first challenge, Duncan pranks Justin by tricking him into walking the wrong direction while Justin is blindfolded. Later, Justin spotted Duncan cheating, but Chris ignores him. Later, Justin becomes attracted to Courtney, leading him into a fight with a jealous Duncan for Courtney's affection.
Oh my god, corny, lame, boo, tomato, tomato, tomato. I'm throwing tomatoes.
Their conflict, along with Justin's elimination, the episode marks the end of the guys' alliance. In Get a Clue, Duncan manages to steal one of Harold's DNA when the latter attempts to steal his using a complicated trap. Throughout the episode, Duncan is easily tricked by Courtney several times. The first is when she treats him with dinner and a massage, which is actually for her to steal a strand of hair from him, even though she already took one from Lindsay. Later, she manages to sweet talk him into going on the roof of the train to check whether or not it is real, and is severely injured when the train passes through the tunnel. Because of his absence when Chris's body disappears, he's totally dead. Duncan becomes the primary suspect, and everyone except Courtney handcuffs him. In the end, Lindsay wins the challenge and found evidence that Duncan is innocent. To make up for her mistake, she invited him to the movie. Because of their differences, the two of them find their date awkward, but have fun making Courtney jealous. In Rock and Roll, Duncan wins the first challenge by playing his guitar casually and then smashes it in true rock and roll fashion. In true fashion of rock and roll bands. He also performs well in the second challenge, though he uses core points for the damages he causes. In the end, Courtney wins visibility, and Duncan is targeted by the other contestants again. However, Duncan, however, by pure luck, Duncan is spared as Lindsay, who the cast actually cast to design the move for herself and is a
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
No. 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 In ca- in Crouching Courtney Hidden Owen, Duncan trains Harold in preparation for the first challenge. Though through his training, Duncan is able to bring out Harold's inner strength and together they win the first challenge and move on to the next. During this period, the two of them begin to make amends as neither of them want to sabotage the other and even agree into sharing the reward together. Just as things between the two have become better, Owen, under orders from Chris, convinces Harold to punch Duncan, in which he does so after Duncan makes fun of Lashana, ending their short-lived friendship. This action gives Harold enough confidence to give a taste of his own medicine by putting rocks in his bed in 2008, A Space Owen. After Harold accidentally killed Duncan's beloved pet tarantula, Scruffy, Duncan votes her off. Before he leaves, Harold fancies Duncan, to which Duncan admits that he kind of had that coming. It's time for this. In Top Dog, Duncan and Courtney spend the night together before discussing about the relationship, and Courtney decides to get over trans, provided that he read and memorize a 32-page long letter that highlights all the mistakes Duncan needs to correct. I mentioned this in the Love Triangle video. I think this is the reason why Duncan went to end things with Courtney and ultimately cheats on Courtney with Gwen. I think this is the reason why. I watched a Wicked Binge video on how on the whole drama shifts, the first one, and Duncan and Courtney were seen as the most toxic. There was a comment or a reply, I seriously don't remember, where one person says, "But Duncan and Courtney are toxic. They are the most toxic." Toxic. Courtney wrote Duncan a 32-page long letter that needs so that they can be together. That's not healthy. I notice, and I'm a 13-year-old. I know nothing, but I can understand when things are not healthy in a relationship. This is not healthy. This is being controlling, essentially. Writing someone a 32-page letter on little things that they need to correct, like their appearance or whatever, is absolutely insane. And that's not normal in a relationship. In a relationship, if your partner has little flaws, I'd say you embrace that no matter what. If there's like a big flaw, then that's when I would say you need to step in. But if it's not, then embrace it. Do not write a 32-page letter. Do not be like Duncan and Courtney, please.
Did I lie? Did I lie?
Because of this causes Duncan to be sleepy for most of the challenge. In the forest, Duncan's chameleon disappears and he ended up falling into a pit. Duncan slowly begins to lose his mind, and to question his hunger, he eats the letter that Courtney gave him. 2 days later, Duncan returns to the film lodge dressed as a wild man, with armed with primitive weapons. It wasn't until Courtney kisses him that he began to turn into his normal self. Owen then tells him that his chameleon that was with him the entire time, blending with the color of Duncan's mohawk. Tired of Courtney's overbearing rules and control of him, Duncan voted her off that night. Angered by his betrayal, Courtney breaks up with him. Moments later, Owen is fired by Chris, leaving Duncan and Beth the only contestants framing the season. I would say that this, along with All Stars, I feel like these are the most controversial finalists in the series. I like this pairing. It's just that I wish I would have seen a Lindsay and Courtney finale because that would have been cool to see. I don't like Courtney at all, but I feel like that would have been cool to see. During the finale, during the episode Immunity on the Savage Stage, which is seen as the finale, Duncan declines Beth's idea of working together for the challenge as he wants to claim victory for his own. He manages to get a head start during the first challenge, but since he is unable to answer any of the questions Chef asked correctly, he is required to complete all the season's challenges again. Beth eventually catches up with him at the final question since she knew much about her fellow contestants. To Duncan's delight, the final question is about Courtney, who he supposedly knew a lot about. Unfortunately, the question is something he didn't know. What color is Courtney thinking of? The answer was burnt sienna, and Duncan guesses blue. How was he supposed to know that? He ain't no psychic. As both finalists are unable to answer the final question correctly, they have to complete the Earthquake Simulator challenge again. Duncan and Beth ended up helping each other to meet the finish line, resulting in a tie, which resulted in the actual finale episode, the aftermath the second. They should have just called it like a two-part. We never got a two-part finale. I'm pretty sure in Total Drama, so that would have been cool to see. This episode really should have been called. It really should have ended before Beth managed to get to the. It should have that episode should have ended before Beth manages to get to the first challenge. And then that could coincide with part two, and then it could have been called Mutiny on the Salad Stage Part 1 and 2, and that would have been a much better finale than what we have gotten. Harold suggests in order to determine the winner, Harold suggests that the two of them complete in a contortionist challenge, but his two ended up in a tie. Once Chris returns, he had to eliminate contestants to vote for the winner after asking them questions. No matter what which ending occurs, Duncan ends up back with Courtney. I did talk about this in my Alejandro video, so I'm going to group him here. When I talked about the finalists, Alejandro was obviously the first one because he was first, and he was obviously the first finalist that we've seen in a series. So For Told on World Tour, I would assume that Heather's ending is the canon one. I guess I could see both endings being canon because Heather states that she has robbed the million. But I think it would have made sense if she won, then God take it away from her because Ezekiel fell in the lava along with the case. And then for action, it seems like they just put more effort into Beth's ending than Duncan's ending. So I think Beth's ending is the canon one. There's no, yeah, I'm gonna keep it at that. So we're now doing a time skip with where they're a year later when they're 17. So, yeah. It is revealed that it's Celebrity Manhunt's Total Drama Action Reunion special that despite the couple's popularity, Duncan and Courtney broke up again. And Duncan filed a lawsuit against Courtney over custody of their pet raccoon named Brittany, a parody of a broken up couple fighting over custody of their child, which is dark. Keep in mind, these are minors. Why are they fighting over custody over a raccoon that will bite them in their sleep and possibly kill them? No, for real. Why? Maybe it's just because I don't like raccoons. I hate raccoons. I hate them. Meanwhile, rumors begin spreading that Glenn is beginning to have a crush on Duncan, putting the situation in a tense position. Duncan joins his fellow contestants to New York to stop the dirtbag's bus, but en route, he and Courtney ended up making out, setting their bus off a cliff. He remains in the bus with several others while Jeff finds help. Eventually, he and those who remained are saved by Chris, who announced that they qualified for season 3 Total Drama World Tour. I'm gonna say this here. I retconned this completely in my fanfic having a prologue on how the new contestants essentially joined the show, and they all Sierra and Alejandro specifically, they had already signed up beforehand, and then these people, the OGs, they were actually during their summer break, they were actually called back by Chris. All 22 of them, they were actually called back by Chris to come to the Total Drama Camp Craft Services Dev, and that's Craft Services Tent, and that's where Chris announces that Total Drama was renewed for a third season, and then the main eight, as I'm gonna call them since Flash is gonna be part of the group in my fanfic, they were at a movie theater and Pinkie Pie signed them up against their will. She signed them up against their will because she thought it would be fun. And literally everyone agrees to this because I don't know if you can refuse this or not. I don't know what the contracts are for Total Drama, but because there's a lot of inconsistencies in this reunion special because they're hostile to Alejandro and they met Sierra at first, and then in the next season, this is essentially forgotten about. So either there was a writer's change or this is essentially not canon. So yeah. Oh, this is so long. This is so long. This is so long. This is so long. Okay, I can't. I can't. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. Okay, let's get into Duncan's Dirty Brass Whole Drama World Tour, where the love triangle happens, and where I just don't care during that part of season 3. World Tour is my favorite season. There's no denying that. I love the chaos. I love the chaos from it. I just don't like the love triangle. Duncan starts the third season in a very good place with his recently reunited girlfriend Courtney and his close friend Gwen. Like Gwen, Duncan strongly opposes the idea that the contestants are required to sing in every episode. In Egypt, Duncan and the two girls would work together during the first challenge, where things get tense between the girls, which annoys him immensely. Once his team makes it to the top of the pyramid, the girls continue to argue and Chris shouts at them to get it down as it's time for another musical number. Duncan finally snaps and runs down the pyramid, dragging Courtney and Gwen along with him, and yells at Chris that he quit, shocking both Gwen and Courtney. Duncan would officially leaves via the Java stream in the next episode after Ziegler had taken him. The exclusive clip shows that after having trouble activating his parachute, Duncan is dangling from a tree and is surrounded by scarabs. Pause. I did not have Duncan quit. Period. Point blank. He did technically quit in the first episode, but I go off Duncan's ending for my fanfic, And before, when Izzy in this version is eliminated because she lost the stick, similarly to how Ezekiel lost the stick canonically. Doesn't go feral. Don't worry, she doesn't. But she still loses a stick. And when Duncan wants to leave, Chris says, "Hey, wait, did you forget that if you quit, the producers will take away your million that you won last season and give it to Beth?" And that causes Duncan to be like, "Fine, I'll stay. I'll stay. I don't want to lose my money." Because I actually had him stay because he still had plot. Okay, yeah. Oh my god, my nose is running. From his departure, and for the rest of the first half of the season, Duncan would be mysteriously spotted all around the world in places like Scotland, Sweden, Texas, and Italy. His spirits and sightings have been included into an aftermath segment called Total Drama Fugitives. It was also mentioned by Playley that Chris has been searching for him, even sending a multiple giant total drama machines everywhere. His absence was also brought up by Gwen and Courtney in New Kids on the Block, but when both accidentally reveals how much they miss him in a confessional, though the former mistaken him being her boyfriend last season instead of Trent. We're gonna. Yeah, I'm not talking about it. We'll just wait to cross that bridge when we get there. While team members are on their way to Newfoundland, the two girls believe that they saw him standing on top of a mountain, but it turns out to be a rock formation that resembles him. Eventually, Duncan ended up in London for a performance with his band, Der Schnitzel Kickers, which coincides with the latest country the contestants are visiting. He was captured by Gwen and Courtney, who are the two girls he's the most closest to, when they bump heads in a club at Whitechapel and is brought back to the plane. Upon discovering where he was, Duncan quickly looks for an exit where Chris stops him, revealing that the whole challenge was a plan to drag Duncan back and force him to fulfill his contract. Much to his chagrin, he is soon placed on Team Chris. Is really, 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 really hot. He soon is scolded by Courtney for abandoning her before the two embrace. But at this point, he is completely over Courtney and has grown romantic feelings for Gwen. I don't want to scream. I don't want to scream. I don't want to scream. While Gwen is using the confessional, Duncan accidentally barged in after a brief banter. The two ended up kissing with Tyler as their sole witness. Mm. So, I'm not gonna say who, but because this obviously does not happen, as I mentioned before. But two competitors, actually, two of the in competitors, it's not Twilight, by the way. I'm talking about Sunset and someone else. It is not Twilight, unfortunately. For all you side and Sunset shippers, it is not Twilight. Sunset and another competitor who I won't say who, but you probably know who I'm talking about. Instead of Duncan and Gwen kissing, Sansa and this competitor end up kissing because they actually have had a growing romance growing between them since, I don't know, episode 1, chapter 1, I'd say. Yeah, chapter 1. And Ezekiel sees this because Tyler's not there at this point. He was eliminated in chapter 5. He was not there. So, yeah, and that turns into a whole hot mess. So, chaos! In Grease's pieces, Duncan presents Tyler to not reveal about the kiss he had with Gwen. Unfortunately, Tyler was pressured by Alejandro to reveal a secret during the tiebreaker challenge. Upon finding out that he has lost another chance to be with Gwen again, Cody angrily punches Duncan, starting a conflict between the two. With a target on his back, Duncan was supposed to be eliminated that night, but Chris wants to prolong the drama and eliminates an intern instead. After a messy breakup with Courtney, he and Gwen would officially start a relationship after they shared their second kiss in the X Files. Unfortunately, their time together was short as Gwen is eliminated in the next episode, Picnic at Hidden Door, as a result of Duncan and Courtney fighting. Duncan, however, will not forget about her and is seen carving a picture of her face on the side of the first class lounge in Celia's tower. Miraculously, despite all the wrong actions that he had done, he manages to get away with most of his actions until he gets involved with Alejandro, which soon leads to his downfall. It's around this time he has started getting around. It is around this time where he has started getting involved in Alejandro, with both getting involved with two women on the season. They both come up with a plan to mess with Team Amazon by pretending to fight over Courtney, and for Alejandro to flirt with Courtney, so everyone would be jealous, and the team would completely self-destruct. I combine Team no! Combine Team Chris is really, really, really hot with Team Victory since the number jumps up when I added the main eight, as I'm calling them. I added them, and that caused the number to go up from 17 to 25, so I just split the two teams in half. So I just combined Team Tropical, and I combined Team Chris is really, really, really hot in Team Victory, and then I renamed it to Team Tropical because if they were called something else other than Team Victory, they would be less jinx, and that turned out to be true. So, yeah. Duncan, however, admits that he does not trust Alejandro, is even sour, and invites Owen to do the same using Noah's absence. Once the teams are merged, he thinks that Gwen is going to return missing her dearly, only to be told that someone else will be returning. Blatantly comes. Duncan is forced to work with Corey for the challenge, and despite their bickering, they manage to win immunity for themselves. In order to get rid of Courtney and secure Alejandro's vote, Duncan agrees to team up with him, though he still has suspicions over him. Regardless of Alejandro going against this deal, Duncan is finally able to eliminate Courtney and Chinese fake out and was not even afraid of her threats. In the next episode, in the next episode, in the next, in the next episode, in the next episode, African Lying Safari, Duncan and Alejandro teams up again, but he is soon stabbed in the back when Alejandro teams up with Heather to go up. When taking the job of saving Gwen, Duncan happily announces to Gwen that he will be seeing her soon. Ah! No. Don't forget to put some pictures of these events. What? I'm sorry. They can't hear me. They only hear me. It's just sad. I know. So, Duncan is introduced in a guest along with Owen and Courtney in a wine style where he is reunited with Gwen. Though Courtney continues to annoy them, the couple nevertheless ignores her until Duncan loses his patience and brews a sandwich Courtney. He and Gwen smile at each other and then share a kiss. Despite his conflict with Courtney, Duncan chose to support him over Heather and Alejandro, knowing that he is the lesser evil among the final three. Unfortunately, Cody lost in the tiebreaker in Hawaiian Punch, and Duncan switches his sides to Ever instead. When Heather is declared the winner in her ending, Duncan cheers for defeating La Cucaracha, which is kind of racist. Duncan is last seen swimming away from the island with the other contestants when the volcano gets her up, and that is it for him in Total Drama World Tour. And now we're going to talk about his cameos in Total Drama Revenge of the Island. In Bigger Battle, Brutal Duncan appears on a yacht with his fellow veterans. He and Gwen are seen making out passionately while DJ, Harold, and LaShawn dance nearby. Boo. Boo. Because of him quitting last season, and thus owing Chris some camera time, Duncan is brought back to Camp Wawanakwa and Grand Chef Otto in order to demonstrate the challenge. However, Duncan runs away once Chef entices him. As revenge for Chris using his kitchen as the site for the challenge, Chef points to newcomers to pay Mount Chrismore uh, a new attraction on the island and blames it on Duncan. At Mount Chrismore, Duncan appears and explains to Chris that it wasn't his idea to add an extra target for the contestants before revealing his true plan, detonating Chris's prize monument. Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything. Time for Duncan's downfall. This is where in Total Drama All Stars, and this is where I would definitely agree with. I don't really agree with most of the other quote unquote derailments. I'd say Alejandro, he did get derailed. Well, I I don't know. Heather, I don't know. Sam, I guess. Sierra, I guess. Mike, uh, I guess. Zoe, I guess. Everyone is basically, I guess, except Courtney, who I said she deserved what she had coming. Uh, who except Courtney, who I said in my Courtney video, she deserved it. She had it coming. Everyone else is, and I guess so. I guess they were derailed. But Duncan is the only one who I would definitely say who was derailed. But I would also say he deserved what he had coming to him. Duncan is one of 7 original cast members competing this season. He is placed on the villains, vultures, and heroes versus villains, along with his girlfriend Gwen, who is unhappy to be on a team of villains. Duncan reveals in the confessional that a main person of his return is to be with Gwen. Although he still loves her, their relationship is beginning to strain as the season progresses, as Gwen keeps annoying Duncan, flirting with her, and even starts to mock or tease him. Unknown to Duncan is that Gwen is trying to make peace with his ex-girlfriend Courtney, who has yet to forgive both of them, and even pretends that Duncan doesn't exist anymore. While Duncan is confused and somewhat hurt over Courtney ignoring him, he tries to act like he is not bothered. Like many of his teammates, Duncan feels proud to be on his team of villains. In Evil Dread, he happily toasts with Scott about the villain's status. His relationship with Gwen continues to deteriorate, with Gwen continuing to ignore him and even laugh at him after he set up a booby trap. In Saving Pirate Leech Ball, Duncan immediately realizes that Alejandro, Heather, and Joe are sweet talking Gwen in order to pull both of them into alliance. While he is annoyed that they anno- while he is annoyed that they spent more time arguing, he is even more annoyed that they did not try to pull him into one. Like Heather, Duncan believes that Gwen was actually being mean towards Courtney in the past episodes. When Gwen finds out about this, she angrily tells him that he does not know her at all. Duncan then realizes that Cameron is targeting Gwen and heroically jumps in front of her and takes the lead for himself. Gwen is shocked to see that Duncan is able to perform a normal act, so he playfully replies to her earlier saying that she does not know him at all. After their team loses, Chris makes Duncan switch shoes with Courtney as a result of their respective actions in the episode. Although frustrated with the team switch, Duncan gets up and moves to the heroic hamsters after giving Gwen a kiss on the cheek. Being on a team of heroes and being labeled as one greatly frustrates Duncan in Fruit Fight, as he believes that it is affecting his image as a bad boy. After waking up, he finds out that his team has set up a welcome party for him. In confessional, he believes that others are trying to make his guard down so they can vote him off, although he expresses embarrassment. It helps that his friends from Julie's don't frame him differently. Duncan appears to be enjoying the party. Over the course of the challenge, he just slowly starts acting nicer and more affectionate to people out of instinct, such as blowing kisses to Gwen and cheering on his teammates. When Mike tries to cheer him up, Duncan finds his voice familiar and believes he might know of someone else. If you have watched this, I will admit the mouth thing should just not have happened. And in my opinion, the villain of this season, it should have been Courtney. I wanted her to have a full blown villain arc after being placed on a villain team. That would have been cool to see. I don't like Mal. They should just not have had that happen. Period. And that's and if I make an All Stars realize that's what I'll do. I'll have Courtney be the main villain of season, going on a villain arc, and then that whole Mike recognize Duncan recognizes Mike thing, it'll just be like, oh, they went to school together or something like that. And that's where, and when Mike clears out, Duncan's like, oh, I'm dumb, sorry. In the next episode, Madness, the vague familiarity of Mike's voice still bothers him. With both of them are separated from their team, Duncan confronts Mike while he's talking to a bird affected by the blue harvest moon. Sensing his suspicions, Mike pretends that Duncan might have known for a previous season, but Duncan doesn't buy it and still believes that the two. Oh my god, I just clicked out. Hold on. No, no, I'm recording. I just clicked out the thing. Duncan doesn't buy it and still believes that the two might have met a long time ago. Before he could remember, Mike sends Burke to attack Duncan. Meanwhile, Duncan's relationship with Gwen becomes even more strained as Duncan excitedly asks her if Courtney still likes him during their challenge. He even believes that Courtney is using Scott to make him jealous, as he states this in a confessional and claims that he is not jealous, only for his eyes to twitch afterwards. At the elimination ceremony, he kisses Gwen on the cheek and asks her excitedly if Courtney is watching, but this is the last straw for Gwen, who loses patience with him and breaks up with him. Duncan is left confused after their sudden breakup. I am saying this though. Duncan and Gwen, even though they made up and now we're friends again, they are not getting together at all. Duncan is not a thing, and I doubt it will ever be a thing. They're just friends. In my opinion, in my eyes, I see them as brother and sister. And also, they look alike. It's giving siblings or dating, and it freaks me out. It creeps me out a bit, and I don't like it. I don't like it. The now single Duncan still wonders why Gwen dubbed him, but does not put much thought into it, and no one expressed Spanish opposition, thinking that was because he was coming too heroic. Though he is slowly starting to accept that he is becoming a better person, he is clearly not impressed with it. Zoe, who is the closest person to him since the switch, on the other hand, is happy to see that Duncan is slowly beginning to trust her after she offers him an apple. Duncan still insists that he is a bad boy, but his attempts backfire, such as what his light breaks as he tries to carve into the wood. The confessional movement becomes emotional when he tries to steal Murberg's ad. At the end of the episode, Duncan finally remembers Mike as Mal. A former inmate of his from the same juvie is also a very dangerous person. Sensing that everyone's in danger, Duncan warns Zoe in the next episode, although Zoe finds it hard to believe that her own boyfriend has a dangerous secret. Zoe trusts Duncan sincerely, not only because she had her own suspicions on Mike recently, she also believes that Duncan is being thoughtful and considerate, much to his annoyance. For the challenge, Duncan is pitted against the Murderer from a previous episode. Refusing to hurt a defenseless animal, Duncan forfeits the challenge, making Chris and his ex-girlfriends laugh at him. During the team elimination, Duncan expressed his annoyance that his team was unable to vote off Mike. Yeah, so Mal. I hate this. I hate this. Okay. Upon reaching the merge, Duncan tries to prove again that he is a villain instead of a hero. He tries to pay a score for career on the cabin only for Zoe to mistake him for a buddy. He then tries to drive Chef's Jeep into the lake, but it actually doesn't work, and by the time he's done fixing it, Chef returns and thanks him for fixing his Jeep. When the challenge begins, Duncan offers protection to his exes for Mal, only for both of them to laugh at them, as Gwen believes that Mike is one of the nicest people around. Duncan and Scott join Zoe and Cameron on their raft as the other boats had either been taken or sabotaged. After managing to catch a stick of dynamite that Chef threw at him, Duncan leads his group in the middle of the challenge to prove to everyone that he is a bad boy. Using the dynamite, Duncan blows up Chris's cottage. During the elimination ceremony, Chris disqualifies Duncan despite Cameron receiving those votes and calls the police to arrest him. Duncan is thrilled that he might finally stop being a softie and is returning to Julie, but is shocked to find out from Chris that the house he destroyed was invaluable and that he will be incarcerated in a real prison because the house he destroyed was a private property. As he is taken away from the show, Duncan tries to stop the police, but to no avail. The exclusive clip shows Duncan in Chris' prison, writing a letter to his mother, wishing her a happy birthday and begging her to send him a lawyer as soon as possible. This obviously proved Duncan obviously got out of jail after this, and because of this, in the final reckoning, Duncan is seen in one of the blues, though he floats along the others before it can then get him down, but it is revealed that they managed to get that the balloons popped and they landed in the water unscathed, so they are fun. And he has two cameos in Total Drama Rama as his teenage self and in Total Drama Island 2024. In a very special that's quite special, a teenage Duncan makes an appearance in his dream along with Courtney's teenage self. And then in Total Drama Island 2024, Duncan appears on a picture one obstacles for the pinball challenge in Holland and Ballin. Upon recognizing them, Priya recalls them as the season 1 power couple and wonders why things didn't work out between them in the end. And that is where Duncan's journey ends. We still have his audition tape, which I'll link down below, and a video log. He is the first one. He is the first one out of every. He's the first one out of everyone in this series that had a video log. So here we go for his audition tape. Duncan talks about his qualities while climbing down the wall of a juvenile hall that he was staying at. But as soon as he hits the ground, he gets hit by a searchlight. The alarm goes off and guards directs her to approach him. Duncan then says that it's been nice chatting, but he's got to run. He then runs off into the dark. It is unknown how he was able to videotape himself climbing down the wall and then zoom out when he's caught by the guards, though it may be possible he actually used the security cameras to film the video. Duncan's parents and his parole officer sent him a video log just like the other campers in the Final Five, but how much he missed them. His parents tell him that they left him in bed that he got arrested for the happy N-word stunt. Happy N New Year's stunt. For selling his partner's hairpiece as pets or for the pool party at City Hall fountain. His parents start bickering after his father questions if they really love him, which appalls his mother, who then insults her husband's hairpiece. Duncan's parole officer then inquires about the pool party and ends with his father telling him to win the money for his lawyer as he'll need it. So Duncan actually has two Camp TV insides. The first one was actually reused for Cody's. Here it is. And then here's his second Camp TV prototype design, which looks the exact same as his current one. Duncan was one of the characters who appeared in the prototype series. He was also one of the main characters of the show, as he appears in nearly every scene with the promo and the promotional art. Like his current character, he was a crook from Juvenile Hall who bullied everyone on the island. However, despite his bullying, he seemed to be close friends with Tyler. The two were in a canoe giving each other a high five before discovering they went over the waterfall. Duncan appears to be friends with Gwen as she has her hand on his shoulder and is smiling at promotional art. Duncan was one of the few campers to go practically unchanged in his design, the only difference being his facial expressions. However, Duncan is one of the few characters to have an even older draft design that looks completely different from his second and current design. The only known evidence is that this was Duncan's first design as a file sheet that displays the original versions of the campers and their designated names. This design appears in I'm running out of breath. Oh my god. Ah! This design appears in a promo and is seen with Harold and Beth, but it is instead used as Cody's. This design has since been recycled into one of the interns. And that's it. Like the others, there is trivia, but I'm not getting into that. This is the longest video in the series. Oh my god. Courtney's was the longest until this video. It is at 18 minutes. I know it's gonna be even longer when I edited it. So that was Duncan's journey throughout the entire show. And as what he's doing now, he is out of prison, and I would assume he is in the military. I would also assume that he has had time to go back and look upon his teenage self and realizing that what he did to Courtney, what he did to Gwen was messed up. So he apologizes to both of them, and he also apologizes to the people he wronged before, similarly to Courtney. As for I know he and Gwen do make up and they become friends, but as for him and Courtney, if they get back together, I would think they have a mutual understanding of one another. I don't, as they will get back together, as if they would get back together. Time will tell. Hi, Edgar here. It is 1:50 a.m. and I am still editing this video. Yay. I forgot to mention where I would rank Duncan. I never truly liked Duncan. I never really liked him for the start. And my feelings for him, they basically remained the same as I got older. So, if I would rank him, he'd be at 20th. So so the competitor who is still at the highest spot right now is Bridget with third place. Who will dethrone her? That's the question. So, my voice is getting raspier. I'm so tired. But that is the end of today's video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And comment down below on what you think about Duncan and what do you think about my other video ideas coming up. And with that in mind, I will see you all in the next video. Bye, my kings and queens.